You've seen the little girl who steals the show. At the great royal occasions, the jubilees, the funerals, the balcony appearances, there is often one small face that the cameras keep drifting back to. Calm when the others fidget, poised when the moment is overwhelming. Already somehow, completely at home in a world that has crushed grown adults. That little girl is Princess Charlotte. And behind the scenes, away from the cameras, her parents are doing something quietly remarkable. They are raising her in a way that is designed, very deliberately, to give her something her uncle Prince Harry never truly had. So today, I want to explore a question that royal watchers are asking more and more softly, but more and more often. Is Princess Charlotte being quietly prepared to succeed in exactly the role that once broke her uncle's heart? Because the answer isn't really a story about rivalry. It's something far more touching than that. Let's start with who Charlotte is, and let's be clear from the outset that she is, above all else, a child. Princess Charlotte Elizabeth Diana was born on the 2nd of May 2015, the second child and only daughter of Prince William and Catherine, the Prince and Princess of Wales. In 2026, she turned 11 years old. Her very name is a gentle map of the family's heart. Charlotte, a feminine echo of Charles, her grandfather the king. Elizabeth for her great-grandmother, the late Queen. And Diana for the grandmother she never met, William's mother. She is third in line to the throne, behind her father and her older brother, Prince George. And for all the speculation that swirls around her, she is, right now, simply a schoolgirl growing up with her brothers, learning who she is. That middle name, Diana, carries a special weight, and many people see something rather moving in it. Charlotte will never meet the grandmother she's named after, the Princess of Wales who died years before she was born. And yet, as Charlotte grows, royal watchers have often remarked on little glimpses of Diana in her, a certain warmth, an easy connection with the public, a natural charm in front of the crowds. Whether that's real or simply something people long to see, there's no denying the hope that surrounds her. The hope that this little girl might carry forward some of the warmth and humanity that Diana brought to the family. It's a lot to place on young shoulders, of course, and we should be careful not to. But it does help explain why the public has taken to Charlotte so strongly, and why her future feels, to so many, like it matters. She represents continuity, and a link back to a grandmother the nation still deeply loved. But of course, she is no ordinary schoolgirl, and the position she has been born into is one of the most peculiar and historically one of the most painful in the entire family. Because Charlotte is the sibling of a future king. George is the heir. Charlotte is not. And that brings us to a word that has haunted this family for generations: the spare. In a hereditary monarchy, the eldest child inherits everything: the crown, the role, the purpose, the destiny. The children who come after are, in the cold old language of royalty, the spares, the backups, there to support but not to lead. And as we have learned in the most public way imaginable, that role can be a very lonely and confusing place to grow up. We know this so clearly now because of Charlotte's own uncle. Prince Harry titled his memoir, quite simply, Spare. The whole book was, in many ways, an account of what it felt like to grow up as the second son, the backup to his older brother William, never quite sure of his own place or purpose. Whatever you think of Harry, and people feel many different ways about him, his account opened the nation's eyes to a real and serious problem at the heart of royal life. What do you do with the children who are born close to the throne, but will almost certainly never sit on it? How do you give them a sense of worth, of purpose, of identity, when the entire system is built around their older sibling? It's a question the monarchy has handled badly more than once, and the late Queen herself understood it deeply. According to the royal biographer Robert Jobson, Elizabeth always had a particular soft spot for those who occupied that difficult second place, for her own sister Margaret, for her son Andrew, and for Harry. She knew from watching her own family just how challenging being number two in such a rigid hierarchy could be. And the history really does bear that out. Look back through the generations, and you see the same difficult pattern again and again. The Queen's own sister, Princess Margaret, was vibrant, talented, and adored in her youth. Yet she spent much of her life struggling to find a meaningful purpose in the shadow of her elder sister's throne, and many felt she never quite found her footing. Decades later, Prince Andrew, the Queen's second son, occupied a similar second-place position, and his story too became a cautionary tale about what can happen when a spare drifts without clear direction. And then came Harry, who put the loneliness of that role into his own words for all the world to read. 3 generations, 3 second children, 3 very different people, all wrestling in their own ways with the same fundamental problem of how to matter in a system designed entirely around someone else. It's a pattern the family has watched repeat for nearly a century. So when William and Catherine look at their own daughter, they are not just thinking about Harry. They are looking at a long line of unhappy spares stretching back through history and quietly deciding that it ends here. And this is the heart of our story, because William and Catherine have clearly, deliberately, decided that the cycle is going to stop with them. They have watched what the heir and spare dynamic did to William's own brother. They have read, or at least absorbed, Harry's account of his pain, and they have resolved to raise Charlotte and her little brother Louis in a completely different way. Royal experts who follow the family closely are in striking agreement on this point. The biographer Robert Hardman noted that, when it comes to preparing these children for their roles, there is now, in his words, a lot of thought being given to it, which was not always the case in the past. The royal commentator Katie Nischal put it even more directly, saying that no one at the palace wants the next generation to suffer in the way that Harry has suffered. Read that again. The people around this family are openly using Harry's pain as the thing they are determined not to repeat. So what does doing it differently actually look like? It looks like 1,000 small, intentional choices. The former royal correspondent Jenny Bond has spoken about how William and Catherine bring up their children with a distinctly modern attitude, doing everything they can to make Charlotte and Louis feel every bit as special, loved, and valued as their elder brother George. Notice that. As valued as George, not lesser, not backups, equal in worth even if not equal in destiny. The parenting expert Joe Frost has observed that the couple focus on nurturing the bond between the siblings, on teamwork, on the idea that each child has a meaningful part to play in supporting the family, rather than slapping the cold labels of heir and spare on them. The whole philosophy is about belonging, not ranking, and there's a poignant detail here that tells you how seriously this is taken. Harry himself reportedly expressed concern that Charlotte and Louis might one day end up feeling the way he did. It clearly matters to him, and his brother appears just as determined to make sure they don't. What makes this so powerful is that William, of all people, understands this problem from both sides. He was the heir, the one the whole system was built around, and he watched, up close, what that same system did to the brother he grew up beside. The two of them were once inseparable, the 2 boys who walked behind their mother's coffin together, bound by a shared and terrible grief. William saw Harry's struggles unfold over the years, and however painful and complicated their relationship has since become, that experience clearly left its mark. He knows, better than almost anyone alive, exactly what the spare role can do to a person, because he loved someone it wounded. So when William sets out to raise his own younger children differently, he isn't working from theory or advice. He's working from the memory of his own brother. There is something quietly redemptive in that. A man who couldn't save his own sibling from that lonely role is determined that his daughter will never have to feel it. Whatever has gone wrong between the brothers, this, at least, is something good that has come from all the heartache. You can see this protective instinct in everything William and Catherine do as parents. By every account, they are fiercely committed to giving their children as normal a childhood as a royal life allows. They do the school runs. William has openly put his family first, stepping back from duties when Catherine was unwell, refusing to simply hand the children over to nannies. They let the children pursue their own passions, sport, the outdoors, whatever sparks their interest. The goal, as one biographer beautifully put it, is to make sure the children don't feel as though they are growing up in a gilded cage. Charlotte is being allowed to be a little girl first, and a princess second. And that, more than any title, may be the greatest gift her parents can give her. Because a child who grows up feeling secure and valued is a child who can one day step into a public role with confidence, rather than resentment. There's a bigger reason all of this matters so much right now, too. The monarchy that Charlotte will grow up to serve is shrinking. King Charles and Prince William both favor a leaner, more modern institution with fewer working royals, and recent years have only thinned the ranks further. That means the handful of children in the next generation, George, Charlotte, and Louis, carry the long-term future of the entire family on their shoulders. Charlotte isn't a minor figure off in the wings. Alongside her brothers, she is, quite literally, the future of the monarchy, and the family clearly knows it, which makes the careful, loving way she's being raised not just a kindness, but a strategy. A secure, confident, well-liked Charlotte isn't only good for Charlotte. She's essential for the survival of the whole institution in the decades to come. For now, though, that future is being kept gently at arm's length. Charlotte attends school with her brothers like any other child, learning, making friends, playing sport, far from the weight of crowns and titles. Her parents are letting her childhood be a childhood. And in a family where that simple thing has so often been impossible, it may be the wisest preparation of all. And what we have seen of Charlotte so far suggests it's working beautifully. For a child so young, her composure at enormous public occasions has been genuinely remarkable. Think of how she carried herself at the late Queen's funeral, a bewildering, solemn day for any child, where she stood with quiet dignity and even gently guided her younger brother on what to do. Think of her at the coronation of her grandfather, perfectly poised. Think of her joy at the Women's Euros final, sharing a sport she loves with her father. She has a natural warmth and confidence that the public has utterly fallen for. She isn't being forced into the spotlight, but when she appears in it, she shines. Not because anyone is pushing her, but because she seems genuinely comfortable in her own skin. And that ease, that security, is the very thing the old spare role so often destroyed. Now here is where the question of titles comes in, and where we move into the realm of careful speculation. So let me be honest with you about what is known and what is guesswork. According to the royal author Robert Jobson, Charlotte may one day be given titles of real weight and meaning. He has suggested she could eventually become the Princess Royal, the special title currently held by her grey-tan, Princess Anne, traditionally given to the monarch's eldest daughter and held for life. He has also reported that the king apparently wanted to reserve the title of Duchess of Edinburgh for Charlotte one day. Now, these are reported possibilities, not confirmed plans, and the timing of any such honors is completely uncertain, as these things depend on events far in the future. But the very fact that such roles are being discussed for her points to something important. The intention seems to be that Charlotte will have a clear, defined, meaningful role of her own. Not a vague, undefined place as a backup, but a genuine purpose. And a clear purpose is precisely what the spare role has so often failed to provide. It's worth dwelling on why a defined role matters so much, because this is really the crux of the whole thing. The pain of the spare was rarely about a lack of privilege. It was about a lack of purpose, the feeling of being important enough to be watched, but not important enough to be given a real job to do. A title like Princess Royal isn't just a pretty label. It comes with a tradition of genuine, lifelong service, exactly as Princess Anne has shown for nearly 40 years, becoming one of the hardest-working and most respected royals of all precisely because she had a clear identity and threw herself into it. If Charlotte one day grows into a role like that, she won't be left wondering where she fits. She'll know. She'll have a defined place, a recognized standing and meaningful work that's unmistakably her own. That sense of belonging, of mattering in a concrete way, is the very thing that can turn the lonely position of a royal sibling into a source of strength rather than sorrow. It's the difference between drifting and being anchored, and it seems to be exactly what the family is trying to give her. So let's return to that word in our title, Outshine, because I want to be very careful and very honest about what it really means here. This is not, and should never be, a story about a little girl being groomed to beat her uncle in some kind of contest. That would be unfair to Charlotte, who is a child, and unkind to Harry, who carries his own genuine wounds. The truth is far gentler and far more interesting than a rivalry. The real story is that the monarchy appears to be learning from its mistakes. Harry's painful experience as the spare seems to have become a lesson the family is determined to absorb. And so, if Charlotte grows up secure, valued, and given a role with real purpose, she may well end up flourishing in a position that her uncle found isolating and painful. In that sense, and only in that sense, she may one day outshine the role of the spare itself. Not by defeating Harry, but by being spared the very loneliness that hurt him. She could become living proof that the family has finally figured out how to do right by its second children. And there's a quiet kindness in seeing it that way, even towards Harry. Because in a strange and roundabout way, if Charlotte does thrive, it will be partly thanks to him. His willingness to speak about his pain, however controversial it was, may end up making life better for the very nieces and nephews he worried about. The next generation could grow up happier because the last one was honest about being unhappy. That's not a defeat for Harry. In its own way, it's a kind of legacy. But I do want to add a note of honest caution, because it would be wrong to pile the weight of the world onto an 11-year-old's shoulders. Charlotte is still a child. Her future is completely unwritten. She may grow up to embrace a major royal role with enthusiasm, or she may, like her cousins Lady Louise and James, choose a quieter, more private path, and that would be entirely her right. We simply cannot know, and we shouldn't pretend to. The healthiest possible outcome for Charlotte isn't to become a superstar or to outshine anyone at all. It's simply to grow up happy, grounded, and free to become whoever she wants to be. And the wonderful thing is that this seems to be exactly what her parents are prioritizing. They appear far more interested in raising a contented, well-adjusted daughter than in manufacturing a future royal celebrity, which, ironically, is probably the surest way to produce a royal the public will love for decades. When you step back and look at the whole picture, the story of Princess Charlotte isn't really about competition at all. It's about a family trying, consciously and lovingly, to break a painful cycle that has repeated itself for generations. For so long, the royal system has produced heirs who were prepared and spares who were left to drift, often with sad results, from Princess Margaret to Prince Andrew to Prince Harry. William and Catherine have looked at that history, looked at what happened to William's own brother, and quietly decided that their daughter will not be left to drift. She will be raised to feel valued. She will be given a sense of purpose. And she will, they hope, grow into a confident, secure young woman who finds genuine meaning in whatever role she chooses. So is Princess Charlotte being quietly prepared to outshine her Uncle Harry? Perhaps the better way to put it is this. She is being prepared to avoid the loneliness that he so bravely described. She is being given, from the very start, the security and the sense of belonging that the spare role so often denied. And if she grows up to be the confident, beloved, purposeful royal that all the signs suggest she might become, then she won't have outshone Harry at all, not really. She will have been rescued from the very fate he warned against. And in doing so, she'll have proved that this old institution, for all its flaws, is finally capable of learning, of changing, and of loving its children a little more wisely than it once did. That little girl who steals the show at the great occasions isn't being shaped into a weapon against anyone. She's being raised, as best her parents know how, simply to be happy in a role that has broken happier people than her. And if they succeed, the whole family, Harry very much included, will be the better for it. Because a monarchy that finally learns how to cherish its spares is a monarchy with a future. And it may just be a confident little girl named Charlotte who shows everyone that the lesson has, at long last, been learned. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed this thoughtful look at Princess Charlotte and the future of the next royal generation, please do let me know in the comments. Do you think William and Catherine are getting it right with their children? And do you believe the lessons of the past have truly been learned? Until next time, take care.